because he was one of the most severely injured survivors of the 2005 London bombings. It's Dan Biddle. And Dan now is at risk of losing his job and his home, which he's worked incredibly hard to set up after what happened to him, because, of course, we've got these government support cuts heading up.
Well, he was standing behind one of the suicide bombers on the Circle Line when the device exploded. 6 people around him were killed. Dan lost both legs, his left eye and his spleen, and believes he only survived thanks to the actions of Adrian Hiley, a trained combat medic. Well, against the odds, Dan went on to build a business helping disabled people into work. But now, just weeks after the 20th anniversary of the attacks, he's warning that cuts to his access to work grant could force it to shut, leaving him without an income. And he joins us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
I'm so sorry, because, you know, you've been through so much, haven't you? And then, you know, you've obviously set up your business and then this has happened. You know, we were talking there about the day that this all happened, the injuries that you suffered as a consequence. What memories do you have of that time?
Unfortunately, I've got complete recollection of the entire day. So I can remember everything from leaving home that morning. And the last memory I've got is being in the resus unit of St Mary's Hospital just prior to having a cardiac arrest and dying for the first time. And then I've got no recollections for about the next 8 weeks because I was in a coma.
But you remember the day itself and the moment. As we now know, as I said, you were right next to the guy.
Yeah. Right
next to it.
Yeah.
When the bomb went off, and 6 people who were... Some of them were further away.
Yeah.
Lost their lives. You were thrown up against the wall, weren't you, of the...
Yeah, so the
station.
The force of the blast blew me out of the train. I hit the tunnel wall and then basically landed in the crawl space between the tunnel wall and the track. So I was actually on the floor of the tunnel.
Were you in a complete daze, thinking what's happened, or did you kind of know what had happened?
No, the kind of moments after the blast, I didn't have a clue what happened. I thought, because there was a big white flash, I thought there'd been like an electrical explosion or something like that, and the doors had given and I'd basically been sucked out of the train.
Yeah.
So it was only when I moved my arms round, because the way I'd landed, my arms were above my head, I moved my arms round to the front of me and I could see both my arms and hands were on fire.
Oh,
and I kind of... My initial thought was, surely this should hurt more than it does. And then I made a really big mistake and I started to look around me, and that's when I saw the first dead body and then the body parts of individuals, and that was it. It
was extraordinary that you survived, and it was thanks to this combat medic then.
Yeah, the bravery of people that day, and particularly Adrian, is still, even now, it's phenomenal. The thing I've always said is that within 30 seconds, I met the absolute worst that humanity has in the bomber, and then the absolute best in Adrian, because he didn't know me from Adam. He was injured himself. He'd dislocated his shoulder, he had broke a couple of ribs, he'd cut his head quite badly, heard me screaming, and his only thought was, I need to get to that guy and see if I can help him. So, phenomenal bravery. He didn't just help me that day, he went back in numerous times to help other people. And I believe he was the last civilian to leave Edgware Road when they did the sweep to make sure there was no survivors left.
You were 20, weren't you?
26.
26. And where were you headed that day?
So I'd actually missed my stop. I should have got off at Baker Street.
No.
And then,
Fate.
And then I was going to get off at Paddington, which is obviously the next stop along from Edgware Road. And he blew it up shortly just before we got to Paddington Station.
And before we move on to your predicament now, which is just appalling, what are your thoughts about the bomber?
There's nothing but hatred and contempt. There can't be forgiveness for such an act of evil. I really, truly don't believe that. I think forgiveness is something that you earn. Forgiveness is something that you would be genuinely sorry for what's happened. I believe if he hadn't have killed himself, he'd have gone on to do it again. And I looked at that man in the face before he detonated that bomb, and there was no hesitation. There was no, oh, my God, am I doing the right thing? It was just, he looked at me and everybody else on that train with a vitriolic hatred and wanted to kill us all. I can't forgive that.
And we know that, you know, you've obviously had the significant injuries that this has left you with. Not only that, but also the mental impact of this, which you still very much feel, don't you?
Yeah, I've got complex post-traumatic stress disorder, I've got a general anxiety disorder, and I've got depression. So all the things that I do daily are impacted by that, because it's really funny, whenever I do interviews and things like that, people always say to me, oh, I don't want to take you back to that dark place. And it amazes me people think I've got to leave. That's where I live. I'm plagued daily by flashbacks, and they can be audio, visual, sensory. So I can, often when I'm having a flashback, I can smell the smell from the tunnel. I can taste the blood in my mouth from where my mouth was ripped open. And I'm transported back to that tunnel. So my whole environment changes. And it triggers things like sirens, certain smells, if there's a bang, if there's a white flash, or lots of noise. They all trigger a very visceral response to me, and that can happen 50, 60 times a day.
Oh, my goodness.
You used all the strength within you to rebuild. First of all, there was a business of just clinging on to life, which you did by a hair's breadth. And then bit by bit, as the months and years went by, you had to rebuild your life. And you've done it. And you've built a business helping other disabled people. And you've done that partly with the help of government aid, which is now being withdrawn. Tell us what you're losing, and tell us what impact that's going to have on the business that you've done so well to set up.
So my Access to Work grant was for 40 hours a week. So it's 8 hours a day, 5 days of the week. And that basically covers because I do a lot of travelling with my job, it covers driving support. But the biggest crux of it is that I could be in a meeting and there'll be sirens, there'll be an ambulance go past.
Right.
I'm not in that meeting anymore. I'm back in Edgware Road. So I get the anxiety, the feeling of kind of having a panic
And
attack.
you can't function.
No, I almost just shut down.
Yeah.
And I think that the thing is, what's not been given consideration in my Access to Work renewal application is I outlined all of this. And I asked that everybody's case is individualised. Everybody's kind of, their needs are different. And I just said, this is an extraordinary set of circumstances. What happened to me is an extraordinary event. It's not something that we happen daily. The long-term effect of it is it's never going to go away. I'm never going to be cured of my PTSD. I've had really kind of stringent counselling and a lot of work go into enabling me to function. But the impact isn't lessened. I've got coping mechanisms that help, but they don't take it away.
No.
So without that support, I'm terrified sometimes. It can take me an hour to leave the house because in my head, my brain doesn't process things the way that everybody else's does. So what would be completely innocuous to somebody else, in my head, that could kill me. My brain doesn't have the ability to process anything other than that can kill you. That's going to hurt you. Somebody's going to try and kill you. So when you're trying to deal with that and run a business and go to different places, I need the support that I get because I can't do it without that because the anxiety is too much. And then what they've done is they've taken me from 40 hours a week down to 13 hours a week, which is less than two full working days. Yeah, which is less than 2 full working days. Now, I did a project a little while ago where we was on a holiday park in Wales doing some training and doing some access audits, and we was there for 5 days. I couldn't have done that without my support being there.
Right.
Because when we was doing it, in one of the entertainment areas, they was rehearsing and somebody set off a smoke machine. So there was a bang and then smoke.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that's the explosion. That's me back in that tunnel. And I was really, really distressed. So my support worker was there to manage that and help get me out. Yeah. I couldn't take that job on now with the support that I've got. And the thing is, when you ask for your application to be reconsidered, it can take up to 100 days before that gets looked at. There's no guarantee that it will be changed. And you only get one bite of the cherry. So you get one chance to have your award reconsidered, and then that's it.
And if it's not, from the way you've described it, your business goes turtle.
Yeah. And the thing that I find so despicable is that, I'm not sure if it's Liz Kendall or Starmer made a comment in the House of Commons that disabled people that can work should work. And I think anybody that has any dealings with disabled people know that they want to work. It's not a capability issue, it's a lack of opportunity is the problem. And what the government are doing is kind of publicly saying if you can work, you should work, then removing the mechanism to enable you to do it, which is pretty much gaslighting disabled people.
Well, listen, we hope we've got some good news or some hopefully positive news from what we've heard from the government. A spokesperson said to us, we want victims and survivors of terror attacks to receive the best possible help to rebuild their lives. Mr Biddle's case will be independently reviewed. He will receive a decision as soon as possible. If they recommend a change, we will implement it at the earliest opportunity. So, hopefully...
The thing that is always a concern to me, it's if.
Yeah.
I don't understand how anybody can not look at the evidence that's provided and not think that I can do it on 13 hours a week. I need the support. It's not... I want to work. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy helping disabled people try and get into employment. Surely they have to look at the evidence and go, this guy needs
Well,
this.
Dan, in the 6 or 7 minutes here, you've just made an open and shut case. I can't believe that you won't get the decision that you need.
Thank you.
Let's stay in touch.
Yeah, definitely. That's
Thanks
great.
for coming in to share your story.
pleasure.
We really
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks
Dan.
very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.